Hey, all my Capricorn friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about your April 2024 monthly horoscope. April is teed up to be a very big month. There is going to be an eclipse in your fourth house of home. I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot of activity in your fourth house of home and an eclipse in your 10th house of career. We're also going to have a Mercury retrograde. And we are going to see our first, we're going to see the exact conjunctions between Uranus and Jupiter in your fifth house. So these horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about the house structure, I'm talking based on Capricorn rising. This is also applicable to Capricorn moon and Capricorn sun. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Capricorn, this video is also applicable for you. If you don't know what your rising sign is, you can go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location. And finally, these horoscopes and the dates that I refer to are based on the Pacific time zone. So please adjust for your location. Okay, well, the month starts off with Mercury retrograding in your fourth house of home, Aries. And this is fairly significant because the home is the area where our confidence is built, where we feel loved, supported, nurtured, where we are theoretically safe and feeling a sense of security. And as Mercury retrogrades, it's going to go over some points that can trigger old memories. Chiron is considered the wound that transforms into the gift. It is based on mythology. Chiron was a centaur, birthed from Saturn and Lyra, I think is how you say it. And upon his birth, his mother abandoned him because he was a centaur. Saturn and Polyra had morphed into horses in order to have sex. And I go getting a little far into the story, but Capricorn likes history, so there you go. But my point is this: is from the onset of his existence, Chiron had a wound, and Mercury, the planet that rules your thoughts, rules your speech, rules your interactions with everyday, your activities. It rules your siblings, your workmates, your teammates, your neighborhoods, your sidewalks, your roadways. I mean, literally, it touches every aspect of the human existence. And it's going to go over this point, Eris. Eris is about standing up for yourself. Eris is Mars' little sister. We're in the sign of self. Here we have Chiron potentially triggering memories of a wound that now has an opportunity to be transformed. And Mercury's going to end its retrograde at 15 degrees of Aries with a conjunction to the North Node. This is going to be ravenous thoughts about wanting to individualize myself and maybe even release myself from any old thoughts, wounds, habits, speech, way of being that doesn't serve moving my story forward. When you have Aries as your fourth house, there's a lot of fiery energy in that. There's a lot of passion. There can also be, depending upon the planets, there can be anger and frustration. You could come from a military family or a family of competitors. So there's a lot going on here, and this is going to be up for review until the 25th. So most of the month, your fourth house will be in your thoughts, and this could even potentially propel you or make you think about moving somewhere new or wanting to venture out in some way. But taking action right now would not be a good time. You want to do that when Mercury's moving forward. At the same time, on the first day of the month, we see Venus, while she's in her exaltation, in a very tight conversation with one of her best friends, Neptune, and they're talking about very dreamy things. They're writing music and poetry, and they are enjoying the more pleasurable and sensual things of life. I also think that Venus, having had some very intense conversations with Saturn in March, is now ready to implement her own skills, to build, to endure. And here she's talking to Neptune, not just about the dreamy things, but also about how to connect with spirit in order to, it's a be, do, have. What is my belief? What is my attitude? What is my disposition before I take action? So here, I think Venus is anchoring in a sense of spirituality as she's about to move into a sign that she's considered challenged in. She's considered in detriment in Aries. And so here, the idea of Venus representing our money, our self-worth, our creative talents, our skills, are the food that we eat, the food that we make, our partnerships. Again, Venus and Mercury dominate when it comes to branching out and ruling many areas of our lives. So this is going to be a powerful start to the month. We are feeling this conjunction in your fifth house of creative expression, of the conception of children, of enjoyment, pleasure, fun. This is a transformation that I think Capricorn has been going on for quite some time. As Pluto was going through your first house, it was really, restructuring how you view your obligations, your duties, your fears, and where you may potentially anchor yourself into an old dynamic rather than allowing yourself to lead and by pleasure or by joy or by passion, and letting that fuel your ambitions, because that's what Capricorn represents. So we see a growing conjunction here in an earth sign, the sign that rules my skills. Jupiter rules expansion, foreign people. Those are pretty common. It also rules business, commerce. It rules legal, the legal system. It rules higher realms of education and of philosophy and of religion. And here we see innovative and scientific and futuristic Uranus. They're coming together in this earth sign to open a space for the individual to be free to express itself, and rather than being criticized for not homogenizing into the collective, there's going to be an opportunity to sort of shine your light within that collective. That's the way I want to say it. What we're seeing is really a strong influence in your third, fourth, and fifth house. We see at the start of the month, Saturn is starting a conjunction with Mars, and traditionally, both these planets are considered in challenged a bit because Saturn is not particularly emotional, and Pisces is very emotional. We have fiery Mars here in watery Pisces. So usually these are considered challenged. I personally think this is where we're seeing the spiritual warrior, the peaceful warrior, the Knights of the Round Table, the Knights Templar, where we're taking structure and we're taking our ability to learn from history, and we're learning how to build a spiritual dynamic as we take action and we act bravely. This is where Mars gets to be a hero, where it summits with, Saturn is actually hosts your first house. It's your Lord. And Mars is exalted in your house, which means it's in its second highest vibration of potency, of influence, of ability to move and make things happen. So as these two meet together, I don't know if I really agree with the idea that they diminish one another inside of Pisces, but rather come at things from a completely different perspective. As Saturn understands how history has evolved, and Mars is willing to be like Sir Lancelot to King Arthur here. It may sound a little lyrical, but that's kind of how I see it. So this is just the first of the month. So action-packed. I didn't even talk about the quincunx that we're seeing between Saturn and the South Node and Jupiter and the South Node. These are blind spots. South Node is our habit of thinking, our habit of feeling, our habit of being and believing. And here it's the side of cooperation, of in many ways giving up my power, giving up my my voice, and Libra is your 10th house. So if for some reason, Capricorn, you have traditionally been a cooperative component, been more that enduring energy to help others build their careers, now is a time for you to individualize yourself and create a new platform. The fourth house is the very bottom of your zodiac wheel, which is like where everything sort of, I almost feel like I'm seeing Atlas holding up the fourth house, which is holding up your world. So this is a ravenous energy for change, for acknowledgement, and not acknowledgement from the ego, but acknowledgement from the self that you are indeed a builder, a creator, and you have more than enough talent and opportunity right now to expand your world. And it could be through business on the internet. I mean, there's so many ways. This could be foreign travel. Uranus rules aviation. Here's foreign places, foreign people, foreign things. It could have to do with, even broadening religious beliefs, moving forward with astrology. I mean, there's so many things it could be. But let me move on to the 5th, where we're going to see Venus move into Aries. I'm going to move this back to 12 p.m. Now, as I said earlier, Venus is traditionally considered challenged in the sign of Aries, as she, is literally feels exiled from her home. But she's really, to me, as we allow these planets to evolve, and every planet in our zodiac is over 4 billion years old. So Venus here is more of an empowered woman. She would represent someone who we look at in the media today and who, makes her own money, drives the bus of her own life. We could throw out people like Beyonce, we could say Taylor Swift, we could say Oprah Winfrey. I mean, we could say Hillary Clinton, any woman who is self propelled and willing to stand in what she believes in. Now, as the month goes on, Venus is going to move towards these points, the North Node, ravenous to express herself and her individuality, really wanting to reconcile the wound and transform it into a gift that, again, propels her into greater opportunities to make resources for herself. And at the same time, Mercury is retrograding through this energy. So there's a lot of thoughts about not only how can I make money, but how do I believe in myself? What do I think about my skills and my talents? And we go back to, on the 5th, we're still having this very spiritual conversation. And this is where you could kind of ask yourself, Capricorn, from a deep level, from the home of your heart, am I meant to do this thing that seems so much fun? I'm not used to that. I'm used to doing something that might feel a little enduring. We see this conjunction is growing. And as the month moves on, Jupiter is going to literally cross over Uranus's energy. And then Uranus is going to come back up on Jupiter. We're going to see a conjunction at 21 and 22 degrees. When we get to the 22nd degree, that is the Capricorn degree. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Now I want to go to the 8th, where we're going to experience our second eclipse of the season. It is a new moon solar eclipse here. It's funny because it's at 12 p.m. and the eclipse is actually at 11:20 a.m. So let me just fix that real quick. Okay. Now this is kind of important because even in those 20 minutes, we saw there was a shift between the moon and Chiron seemed to swap spots. So on the day of this eclipse, a new moon solar eclipse is the darkest phase of the moon, where the most faith is required as we're planting the seeds of our intentions, of our goals, of our desires, of our wants, of our pleasures, of our frivolity, anything that you want to experience that brings a sense of peace and harmony and balance. Because this, we just experienced at the end of March a lunar eclipse, full moon in Libra. This was illuminating the relationship that we have with ourselves. Now, Capricorn, this here is now illuminating or planting the seeds for what was illuminated. We see Chiron is at the 19th degree as well. So Chiron is very much influencing this new moon, and this new moon is about planting the seeds for yourself to blossom, to grow, to move beyond where it is that you sit. And if where you sit is a place of great contentment, then the seeds that you plant are about that continued energy and fostering that. I think it's so powerful because this north node and this south node is very much about redefining the me versus we relationship and the inadvertent giving up of power in relationships. And for you, this could be a struggle between your career, which is Libra's your 10th house, and your home life. And this could be the home that you created, not the family you were born from. We also see during this eclipse, and let me just briefly say, eclipses are fated events that offer opportunities to make choices. Things aren't happening to us. The stars are offering a landscape for us to walk through to feel the power of our choices. We see that the 19th degree is here, kind of accentuating that Libra energy of harmony, balance, justice, diplomacy, cooperation. And we see Jupiter is also at 19 degrees. And while it's not really having a conversation, there is a theme here that feels very powerful to me. We also see that Mercury has not moved very far, but rather is now conjunct with Eris. Thoughts of standing up for myself, for what I want, for what I believe in. And actually, rather than seeing that as an act of defiance, it's an act to offer others an opportunity to grow and to see what is, what is their heart's desire, their soul's want. What did it want to experience on this planet? Because that is why we came to this earth, is for us to experience, to experience choices. I don't think that this is about learning lessons. Now, we also see at the time of this eclipse, our soldiers here, our peaceful warriors, are in a very tight summit. And again, making a challenging aspect to maybe even others and how they want me to be for them. And again, this 10th house not only represents your career, it's your natural 10th house. It's a house of ambition, of public view, of where your status is obvious to others. And you may have some historic issues about how will that play out when I have been a certain way for so long. And at the same time, we see Pluto making a very favorable aspect here to Venus and to Neptune. It's a sextile, offering a deep spiritual awareness of how maybe the dark spots in your life up until now are about to make the color pop as you allow yourself to birth the 2.0, the 3.0, and knowing that that has a broader reach than it may look like right now. Let's go now to the 18th. The planets stay pretty much all, this is all the running theme. So I'm going to the 18th because this is where we're going to see the first exact conjunction in your 5th house. And this is the house of pleasure, the house of fun, the house of games, the house of the conception of children, the house of the performer, the clown. The high school years are contained here in the 5th house. Now we overlay the energy of Taurus. It could very much be, creative and enjoy things of the earth, being outside, going to the beach and playing games on the beach. You can enjoy food, cooking, baking. You could enjoy jewelry making. There's so many things that you could enjoy doing here, singing, songwriting. Now we see this exact conjunction is at 21 degrees, which is the Sagittarian degree. The Sagittarian degree is the Jupiter degree. So here we have a real doubling down on an opportunity to use your skills to make resources, to create resources, not just money, but opportunities that you might not have thought of before. Jupiter rules business, publishing, branding, influencing. And here is Uranus that rules the World Wide Web, as well as the futuristic things, space, science. It rules astrology. It rules the collective, the cosmic collective. And technology is being shifted again. We'll see that as Pluto moves more through Aquarius. We'll see it as Jupiter moves into Gemini. We'll get an inkling of some new things that are coming up. They could be platforms. I don't even know what they could be, virtual games. But here you have a real opportunity to capitalize on this energy. And it's making a nice aspect to Mars. It's almost an exact conjunction. And that feels like it's brave action as a result of the conversations it's had with Saturn. Now, at the same time, we see Venus has this conjunct the North Node, and there's Mercury retrograde. Oh, and there's Chiron. So these are all having a very strong conversation. Are you going to hang on your wound? Are you going to let it hold you back? Are you going to harbor anger and resentment, or will you allow your thoughts to move forward into your skills and transfer them into an opportunity to really birth a new version of yourself that feels like it's what is should be and what feels natural. It almost feels like this feels like it's something that's been hanging out in your head, Capricorn, and now it's here. There's an opportunity for the world to see it, but a part of you will have to be egoless and initially to the people or the dynamics or the environment you've already created. Let's go to the 19th, where we'll see the sun enter Taurus. And while this, is, I mean, it's literally a very similar energy. At the same time, there's sort of this spotlight again on the Taurus energy. So that is my personal history. Traditionally, Taurus represents the confidence that I learned from my family, how my confidence was shaped. Here, this is the confidence about your talents, about your ability to go have fun, or is it okay to have fun, or do I always have to like clean something before I go, or make sure my chores are done, or my taxes are paid, or something. Because here again, we're seeing this ravenous conversation between Venus and Mercury and the North Node, an experience I haven't had before, but an experience I very much want. And we see the exact conjunction with Mars. This feels very much about, it's almost like Capricorn is not taking action on the outside, but taking action on the inside, calling forth a new experience, maybe even implementing some meditative energies or some spiritual practices that help anchor in the belief system to birth this fifth house energy. All right, now let's go to the 23rd. And we're going to see a full moon in Scorpio. Now, eclipse season is over, but this full moon feels it feels like it brings a lot of insight, because while Libra is your 10th house, Scorpio is your 11th house. So this is the house of, that traditionally Uranus rules, the World Wide Web, the broadening your hopes, your dreams, expansiveness in the form of reaching large groups of people. So here there's some kind of illumination, and the illumination feels very powerful because it's focused on your second house, Pluto in Aquarius. There's a focal point. There's something that you will recognize about your sense of confidence. While we see all this activity in your fifth house, traditionally the second house is Taurus. So there's so much theme going on here, overlapping and layering the energy of this April. It's very, very powerful. So you may feel a wee bit reflective and even feeling like you might be ready to sort of let the toxic energies in your life move in a new direction, like out the door. All right, let's go on to the 25th, where we will see the next exact conjunction between Uranus. Let me go to 12 p.m. Second conjunction exact at 22 degrees. That's the Capricorn degree, even a mastering Capricorn energy. So this is very powerful. We see Venus is moved over Eris. She's had all her conversations here, and Mercury is ready to move forward. But this time, Mercury is riddled with thoughts of how do I individualize myself? I very much want to birth a new version of me, a new version of how I create home. I create a sense of even patriotism, but is that patriotism to a country or is it to an ideal? I'm not quite sure. It could be many things. We also see Mars is getting into a very strong conjunction with Neptune. Let's pop over there. That's going to happen on the 28th. And I think this is really where as Mars is about to go into its rulership, it's as if it's meeting with the master of spirituality and really having a conversation about strategic action, about connecting with source before taking action, because there's going to be a lot of things that happen as Mars meets and summits with all of these very powerful trigger points of the self. And I think that this is really important. Venus is at the very last degree of Aries. She's about to enter her domicile. And we see that Jupiter is now moved over Uranus, and it is going to start to separate from it. So this is a very, very, very powerful energy. We also see Pluto squaring Venus. And so again, there's going to be sort of this weird tenseness that comes upon you, your value, how your obligations potentially at home versus what you want for your career. And yet, if you take advantage by potentially meditating, connecting with source, and being willing to be brave to, rather than fuel your fears or focus on them, focus on what can be, and then allow a sense of inspiration to compel you into the next action. The next 2 days, I'm going to go to the 30th. We'll see on the 29th, Venus moves into her domicile, and now on the 30th, Mars has moved into his. This is just adding to this strength of energy. These planets being in their rulership give us an opportunity to be brave, to be pioneering, to be passionate, to be in some ways tenacious, although Mars is not used to being tenacious. But after summiting, earlier in the month with Saturn and then with Neptune, it understands the mission now as it's going to go over and start to balance these points that have been pulling you back, and now they have the potential to compel you forward. And Venus, as she moves over here, is going to meet these little guys much more in the month of May. We'll talk about that more, but it's really going to be exciting because this is where you could potentially see benefit. You could actually see resources coming in. And Capricorn, you are an amazing builder. You are naturally a builder. And so now, as you focus on something that's really fun and desirous for you, you have an opportunity to really start to root in a new experience in your life. I almost feel like a revitalization. Pluto's done a lot in your first house, and now as it moves into your second house, it can bring you, really liberate you and bring you a sense of bounty that you might not have imagined up until now. All right, that's it for me, Capricorn rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you so much for listening. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'll be back in May with your merry month of May horoscope. In the meantime, please like, please subscribe, please share, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Have a wonderful Uranus-Jupiter conjunction and Mercury retrograde. Bye-bye, everybody.